I'm Christy Turner. I will be covering Chapter 1 of NFPA's Personal Training Certification course, starting with Exercise Physiology. This is Chapter 1 of your book. Like I said, we'll start with the cardiovascular, respiratory, and nervous systems of the body. The cardiovascular system is important because it transports deoxygenated blood away to the heart and transports oxygenated blood from the heart, taking it out to the rest of our body, our muscles, our brain, to the heart itself, to the lungs, also that our body can perform its regular function. Why this is important is the body's demand changes when we add exercise into the mix. The cardiovascular system also distributes nutrients. It removes metabolic waste, regulates our pH, and transports hormones and enzymes. Now, the nutrients are important because nutrients are the energy that our body works from. It's not just vitamins and minerals, it's the stuff that our body needs for cellular function. The metabolic waste, through muscular contraction, metabolic waste is produced. Through the breakdown of food, we produce these chemicals that need to get out of our body or else they hinder our normal cellular function. So the cardiovascular system transports them through the blood and what we inhale and exhale. Also, the pH, the acid level, the alkalinity of the body, and the hormones and enzymes that are also a part of the cellular function. Two more things that the cardiovascular system helps with is to maintain the body's fluid balance to prevent dehydration and also to maintain the body temperature. It absorbs and redistributes our body heat. All right, first things first, I'm going to start with the heart. The word cardiovascular, cardio is the heart, vascular has to do with our body's vasculature, our lungs, arteries, veins. First and foremost, we all know that if there's a beating heart, you have a live person. So starting with the heart, we have the different areas of the heart, and these different areas help us understand how the cardiovascular system works. We have veins and arteries. Arteries take blood away from the heart. Veins take blood back to the heart. Now, to break that down a little bit more, we'll add in oxygen and nutrients to the mix. But starting out, we've got a superior and an inferior vena cava. And as you'll learn in anatomy, superior and inferior are anatomical terms. Superior is on the top, inferior on the bottom. So blood is going to enter both directions of this vena cava and enter the first part of the heart, the right atrium. In the right atrium, it goes through, it's called the tricuspid valve, into the right ventricle, then through the pulmonary valve. Now, the pulmonary valve is taking blood away from the heart just quick enough so it can get it to the lungs to get some of the oxygen that we've inhaled. It's going to take that blood back, fresh with oxygen, feed it back into the heart through the left atrium, the mitral valve into the left ventricle, aortic valve out into our aorta to the rest of our body for it to funnel through the system of arteries, capillary beds, veins, come back to the heart to dump off waste in the lungs for us to exhale out, pick up new oxygen, and start the entire process over again. Now, different parts of the heart that you need to be aware of. You've got the heart itself, and I think we all have seen some sort of an animal heart in our life, but heart is muscular tissue, and it performs repeated contraction relaxation, just like your bicep does when you perform a bicep curl. But that set of muscle is wrapped in a sac, and that sac is called the pericardium. It's a double-walled membrane, and that surrounds the heart. Now, the epicardium is the inside layer of the pericardium. The epicardium is the part that actually touches the heart muscle. The outside of the pericardium touches the rest of the body. Within that, you have the myocardium. The myocardium is our heart muscle. It is the muscle that contracts and relaxes, allowing blood to exit the heart, move from one part of the heart to another, and that pressure from the contraction of the heart is what pushes the blood out and makes it possible to move to the rest of our body, all the way down to our toes and come back up. In your book, you've got diagrams. Blue and red, they're pretty universal colors when it comes to arteries and veins. Typically the red, it's red because it's full of oxygen. The blood in your arteries is going to be a bright red color because it is nutrient dense. It is full of oxygen. It's also full of iron, hemoglobins, everything, because it is taking good stuff to the muscles to feed it. Now the veins, they don't have the oxygen. There may be some left in there, but that's part of cardiovascular training, and I'll get to that in a little bit. But the veins pick up that waste. So you can see the two diagrams are fairly similar in the path of where the arteries and the veins fall throughout the body. They typically will pick each other up. The artery will feed into what's called a capillary bed. The capillary bed is mixed in with the musculature, and the veins are on the other end. We have another example here, especially going back to the blood flow from the heart. As the blood leaves through the aortic valve into the aorta, a major artery of our body, the aorta splits off in different directions. And thankfully, you don't have to know all of those names of all the different arteries, but they'll go up into the brain, down all the way to our toes. And at each part where a major artery breaks off into different arterioles, those arterioles meld into what's called a capillary bed. It's kind of a spider web. And that is where this oxygen drop-off and biological waste pickup happen. And so the arteries, the red comes in, mixes with the blue, and the blue takes everything back out, up through the cardiovascular system, up through our circulatory system, actually, which then takes it to the heart, which then takes it to the lungs, and we exhale. So just recapping the blood flow, it's an 11-step process. Blood enters the heart through the superior and inferior vena cavas, goes into the right atrium, then it passes through the tricuspid valve into the right ventricle. Now this is the part where the blood needs to exit the heart, go to the lungs, pick up the oxygen, dump off the waste. It does that through the pulmonary valve to the pulmonary arteries. At the lungs, picks up the O2, some hemoglobin, travels back through the pulmonary vein into the left atrium. From the left atrium into the left ventricle via the mitral valve, and a forceful contraction out of the left ventricle pushes all of the blood that's in that chamber of the heart through the aortic valve into the aorta, out to the rest of the body. Arteries, arterioles branch into capillaries. At the muscular level, O2 and CO2 are exchanged, biowaste is picked back up, and the blood travels back to the superior inferior vena cavas.